And hello and welcome everyone to another what should be thrilling installment of the Retro Hero Video Podcast. It's like a book club, but with cartoons and superheroes most of the time.
Yeah.
Still figuring out the intro, Matt. We're 4 episodes in. I swear at some point I will hammer down the intro that will stay. With Comic Multiverse, I feel I hit it out of the park perfect the first time and never changed it in almost 300 episodes.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple intro. Yeah.
It's a very simple intro, very easy to remember. So, yes, we're back again, everyone. It's the end of the month, and, I thank you for coming along with us on this fun and crazy journey we've been taking. The first arc of Retro Hero Video, Matt and I were talking about before we started, has all been about very special episodes, PSA episodes, and episodes with a message.
Yeah. All about drugs, stranger danger, kidnapping. Yep, all the good stuff. Yeah, all the good stuff.
I mean, good stuff, finger quotes, maybe. And obviously, no talk of very special episodes in superhero animation would be complete without the Static Shock episode, Season 2, Episode 11, Jimmy, which is a very serious episode that, in case you didn't know, in case you're just clicking on this randomly, deals with the topic of schmool schmootings. Now, I have to say schmool schmootings right now because I'm pretty sure a minute 30 into the video, YouTube would probably ding me if I said the word that it actually is.
Yeah, that's the problem nowadays. It'll probably end up demonetized or something,
I'm willing to take the hit because, I think it's worth it to talk about it. But also, hey, be forewarned, like I said, going into this is a dark topic. This is a serious topic. It's probably the most serious topic we've ever covered on the channel. Here we usually like to try and keep things light and keep things funny, and obviously we are going to try and have some laughs along the way, but in classic, true crime murder podcasts, we're not going to be making fun of the victims or their families, so you don't have to worry. This is the closest thing to a content warning I've ever had to do for Cape Joel, just throwing it out there so you know. But before we hop into the episode proper, we have a little thing we do here on Retro Hero Video in case you've never seen it before. We just don't jump into the episode. We need to paint a picture, Matt. We need to tell the people what the world was looking like around the time that this episode aired in 2002. And with that, we hop on over and I ask you a question, and feel free to play along at home, everyone. What kind of world was this episode in? Well, a good place to start is what do you think the number one song was in 2002? What were you listening to in 2002?
Well, I know it definitely wasn't what the pick is, because I already know the pick because I've seen the picture already.
Yes. Matt's actually looking at the files this time.
But yeah, no. Well, obviously it's Pink.
It is Pink with, I think, her first big hit, "Don't Let Me Get Me."
I think so, yeah. It's one song I don't hear a lot of people talk about when they talk about her music.
Which is a shame, because I was re-listening to it before we started this. I not only think it holds up, but for the first time that we've actually done this segment on the show, I think it actually does tap into the zeitgeist of what we're going to be talking about culturally. Because you listen to this one, and even though it's built up as like, this big popular mass-produced pop song, it's very, grim, the lyrics, and very self-hating. It's it's very shocking. Again, the whole chorus is "Don't let me get me, I'm a hazard to myself," and I'm like, oh yeah, that really is talking about the disaffected youth of the day and how they felt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And say what you want about Pink and everything being, created as this product to be the anti-Britney Spears and the anti-Christina Aguilera pop star. I think a lot of her stuff really holds up.
A lot of it's pretty damn good, yeah.
A lot of it is strong. This one especially, there's a lyric in this song that always did my head in. It did my head in back in 2002 when it was new, and it did my head in, oh my god, 20 years later now when we're talking about it. The line is, "Teacher dates me, my parents hate me," and I'm like, oh my god. That was in a pop song for tweens? Oh my god. Also, your parents shouldn't be hating you. They should be hating that teacher and calling the police. What? That was just a lyric.
Yeah, and the thing is that was probably something pretty prevalent that was happening at the time.
Oh, probably. 2002, as we're going to discover, was a wild-ass time. It really was. Now, music is one thing, Matt. Of course, the next big question on my mind is, what movie do you think was really popular in 2002? What was the biggest movie? Because there were some big releases that year, especially in the geek space.
There was. I think I know what the biggest picture was, though, because it's 2002, which means it's probably Spider-Man.
It's a little indie movie that you may have heard of. Yep, Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, the first one, the superhero movie that arguably changed everything for superhero movies. This was the first one that hit so big, it had a ton of, copycats coming later and also rans trying to have their own big Spider-Man hit.
Yep.
And a lot of them didn't make it.
No.
It wouldn't be until 2008 when you would get your Iron Man and your Batman Begins and superhero culture basically became the dominant culture.
Yep.
I can very much remember this movie coming out. And me being a self-obsessed, kind of shitty comic fan, being they're never gonna get it, because, the last time we had a big superhero movie, it was Batman and Robin and everything. It's nah, this genre's dead. Hollywood doesn't get it, man. Hollywood doesn't respect it. I didn't see it in theaters. I actually saw it on video or DVD, these DVDs that were new at the time. And I'm holy shit, this was actually good.
Yeah, I think I saw it on VHS as well. I can't exactly remember. I do remember having the VHS for it, though, and playing it way too many times.
Which, again, let that sink into all of you who are younger fans out there who are listening. A superhero movie came out, a Spider-Man movie, no less, and Matt and I, young Matt and myself, didn't know if we should have seen it in theaters or not. Because you didn't know back then. That's why when people now say, oh, this was the worst superhero movie ever, this was the worst thing, I'm oh, my sweet summer children, this is a goddamn masterpiece compared to what we used to get.
Yeah, we had Blade 3s and Jonah Hexes and all these Daredevil.
Yes, all Ghost these ones Rider. In between. Yes, all these terrible. The first two Fantastic Four movies.
Yes.
All these terrible movies in between, but that's what everyone was jamming theaters for, and something that is very prevalent to our interest. Now, as far as TV goes, I'm just going to say what this is, because there's no way you're going to get it, because I sure as fuck didn't get it. Apparently, the number one TV show was The Bachelor.
Okay, yep. I would have thought it would have been in our last episode where it was
American Idol.
American Idol, those sorts of shows.
Well, that was American Idol around season 4, which I think was the height of its popularity. I think The Bachelor had just started. Again, don't quote me on that. I don't know much about reality television like this. This is interesting too. I probably should have brought it up more in the Teen Titans episode, but I'll definitely bring it up here. When we look at the entertainment, especially what was number one on television, boy, early 2000s culture seems really fucking vapid and empty, doesn't it?
It's very corporate.
Absolutely. And a thing, too, that I imagine younger people don't get, where it's well, how did this become the biggest show in the world? Because this was a time before streaming and 100 different...
This was what was literally the only thing on.
This is what was on. Again, obviously, satellites had just come into vogue and everything at this time, but by and large, you were still chained to whatever the big networks were coming out with, and they decided this year that this was going to be the big show, and it was the big show because of you. You couldn't see, what was Netflix doing, what was Apple TV pouring their money into. Streaming wasn't a thing. We didn't have all the freedom that you have now to just go watch something else. Forget about anime. Crunchyroll didn't exist yet in the West. You could pay for super overpriced DVDs, or if you were like me, maybe one night on Friday, one of the networks would play the first original run of something.
Yeah, this was also at a time, I don't know what it was like in the US or Canada, but in Australia, if you wanted to watch like a movie on TV, you'd have to wait until Friday night or Saturday night. They wouldn't air them during the week or anything. It'd be 8:30 on a Friday night or 8:30, 7:30 on a Saturday.
Yes, a lot of because they're movie channels were really just becoming a thing now. Home box office had existed, but it hadn't really become HBO as we knew it. Yeah, it was weird. I remember I was a huge fan of the TBS Dinner and a Movie. God, I watched frickin' Cable Guy on that about a bajillion times, and the Brendan Fraser Mummy about 100 times, because they play the same movies over and over again on TV.
Yeah, it'd be like a set of like 5 or 6 films that would just rotate.
Yep, basically. Again, what weird times, and times I never thought I would be nostalgic for.
I know, right? I know.
It was very easy to get caught up on everything back then, not now, where it's like, oh, have you watched the new 10 episodes of this? No, I'm working my way through this. No, I can't start that until I'm done this. To where now there's probably more great stuff that I'm missing. Now, TV was one thing, video games was another, and 2002 was the year of Grand Theft Auto Vice City, arguably a game that changed gaming as we know it and whose ripple effects we're still feeling 20-plus years later.
Yeah, well, we just had that remaster of it, which isn't very good, apparently.
No, it is not.
But, yeah, it's still in the zeitgeist. It's still referenced in things.
Oh, yeah. So much time I sunk into this game. I was literally playing this game right up until San Andreas was released, like, to the day.
I remember I didn't have a PlayStation 2, but my friends did. Because I was Nintendo. I was the GameCube and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But my friend got it as well, and he got San Andreas as well, and we spent countless weekends playing it.
This was a time, too, when, like, video game storytelling was completely going to a whole other level. Like, whoa, they have Ray Liotta in here, and Burt Reynolds, and, like, big celebrities in this video game, and they're, like, actually kind of taking it seriously. Oh, my God. And to think they'd only get bigger from here.
Yeah.
It was also a super violent video game that courted a ton of controversy and would often see itself becoming the scapegoat whipping boy for school violence and schmool schmootings, which, again, in its own way, connects to what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all of the morality crusades against violent video games, again, I think I can say now, 20-plus years later, they were all bunk. They were all bullshit. There was no one has ever conclusively tied violence in young people to violence in video games and media, just like they couldn't tie it to heavy metal music or action movies in the decades prior. And an interesting thing, too, that I love about the video game violence debate is it really doesn't matter what part of the political aisle you're on. Who is in power at the moment will be sure to blame violent video games. We saw that even recently with the last outbreak of American mass shootings where the president blamed the violent video games.
Yeah, that and TikTok and all that sort of stuff. It's whatever is the new thing the kids are playing with nowadays is the thing that's
causing the problems.
Turning them into killers and sex perverts. And
of course. Oh well, we didn't have that back in our day, so it must be the new thing that is the problem.
Yeah.
Which, hey, for the record, I do believe, because this episode we're going to be talking about is directly referencing the Columbine shootings, that era of, like, politicians and pundits and everything, they blamed, like, Duke Nukem and Doom and everything.
Doom,
Which now you look back on those and they look so fucking quaint, don't they?
I know, yeah. You look at that and you compare it to something like The Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah, and it's just like, really? That's what these people would have a heart attack looking at
today
modern games.
Oh, they would burst into flames. They would spontaneously combust. But again, thematically interesting that we can tie this together culturally.
Yeah.
And with that, of course, we have to turn to the world of comic books. What were people reading at the time?
Yes.
Because obviously we're a comic book channel, first and foremost. Believe it or not, the 2000s were a weird time for Marvel, kind of a rebuilding period, and we know it's a rebuilding period because one of their biggest titles is Marvel Knights.
Yes.
But, like, the first run of Marvel Knights, not like the imprint that you would know where it's like, oh, Marvel Knights Punisher and Marvel Knights Daredevil and everything. No, this is just Marvel Knights.
Yeah, it was like a anthology book.
Yes, it was them testing it out. It's like, hey, our stories, they're a little darker now, a little bit more adult. You know, we're not really doing the Comics Code Authority thing anymore. We're selling them with a PG on it. And, oh, yeah, we got actual celebrities in here now. For all the shit Joe Quesada gets, this was his idea and his baby, and he basically called in every favor he had in Hollywood, and Marvel would not be the same without it.
No, not really, no.
Yeah, Marvel was in a big bad way in the early 2000s, and people forget that. The 90s and the comic crash had been disastrous to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, they were on the verge of selling.
Absolutely, yeah. Corporate raiders were circling them. It was almost the end of them as we knew it, but between these comics building interest and the big success of the Spider-Man movie, it was also the year where they kind of turned it all around.
Yeah.
Speaking of DC2, what was going on with them now? Robin celebrated his 100th issue the week that this episode we're going to talk about aired.
That's crazy. 100-issue Robin series.
I know, right? The last time he had a run that long, this, of course, was the Tim Drake Robin, and it was written by Chuck Dixon, a guy who obviously time has not been kind to, but man, he wrote a Robin book and then, a Nightwing book, and I think he wrote Birds of Prey for a bit too, didn't he?
I think so, yeah.
I think so. He wrote a lot of DC runs at that time that people like and still talk about and, still regard, even if once they do it, they're like, oh, what's he been up to lately? Oh, boy. That's not great. And obviously, we have to turn our eyes to something that is not the big two, and at this time, it certainly wasn't, even though this reprint picture I'm realizing is. Marvel, or the Legends Star Wars line, which I don't even think it was called Legends at that point, was it?
No, well, this was when Star Wars comics were done through Dark Horse.
Yes, this is Star Wars 42 from a fan favorite on the show, Suicide Squad alum John Ostrander. This was Star Wars 45. It was kicking off a brand new story arc, Rite of Passage.
Yeah, he wrote most of... this run was technically called the Star Wars Republic run, and I think he wrote most of it. And it's like issues set between the sequel trilogy, the prequel trilogy.
We would have another prequel movie this year too, so interest in Star Wars was an all-time high again.
Yeah, I think not long after the week this episode aired, Star Wars would be coming out.
Yes, I think it was the #1 movie after this week, actually. It would come out on, like, the 15th, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
16th of May, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So, interesting time in geek culture, would you not say? A lot of things were shifting.
Exactly, yeah.
A lot of stuff stayed the same, but it's very interesting to look back at this, as cultural anthropologists, as weird geek detectives that we are, to try and make our assumptions and our connections. And now that that's out of the way, now that we have fully set the stage, we can actually hop into the episode proper. And it was super fun getting to research this one, because I found something I never thought I would find. It was an actual Warner Brothers Kids WB promo for the episode.
Yes, I saw you post it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember these, Matt, but, cartoons never really got much promotion. Usually you would wake up on Saturday morning. Again, that was a thing we did, children. This is a thing we actually did. You'd wake up early. The shitty ones were on from, 6 till 7. And then, around 8 o'clock, 8:30, the really good stuff would start, roll in. Static was always on early. Static was always, one of the earliest ones. And you would usually get, the promo package for today, this week on, Static. And, next week on an all-new Static. And I'm glad I found this one, too, because I totally remembered this commercial and this promo package for it different than what it actually was. And actually, we're going to splice into that right now.
On an all-new Static Shock. Stop it! Stop it! Get him! A loner at Dakota High. Let me out! Is pushed too far. What's that? Don't miss a very special Static Shock.
I'm really glad I found this promo because I had remembered the whole thing completely wrong. It's a Bernstein Bears effect. I had always thought that, the show got little promotion. This particular episode got little promotion because cartoons in general didn't get promotion, but I vividly had remembered them not actually selling it as a very special episode, but in fact they actually did use the word very special episode. Which they didn't do that very often, so when they did, it was surprising, especially for this one, because it was Season 2, Episode 11. It was actually the season finale of Season 2.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, because, when I watched it, it was, Episode 14 or something, or...
Again, streaming services do it out of order, but in the official production order, this is the last one they worked on. for episode 2, and I remember the trailer vividly because there's a bit there where it's like, oh, there's this messed up kid named Jimmy. Oh, what's he gonna do? Oh, he's reaching into his pocket. And this I do remember as a kid, Saturday morning pajamas, cereal, sitting watching the trailer. I'm like, that's gonna be a major fake out, man. I bet they're using superpowers as an allegory for school shootings and school violence. They're not actually gonna have the kid whip out a gun. Oh, how surprised I fucking was. I think I actually did do a milk spit take in the morning, like, oh my god, they did it.
Yeah, here's my real gun.
Yeah, because even then, my assumption was no network would allow them to do this, because we grew up in the time when, Batman the Animated Series was allowed to use real guns, then they had to stop using real guns, and then, the Spider-Man show was only lasers, and they could only punch. We had been getting pretty used to the weird rules that they put on superhero media.
Yeah.
So this one surprised the shit out of me, and I have to wonder, I have to truly think, they got this under the radar, didn't they? They lied to someone to make this happen, because no one promoted it, no one talked about it in its original run, and, there was, no controversy over it, or at least, I'm sure there was, but again, this is pre-Twitter, so no one could register their thoughts online instantly.
Yeah. They did a cut where the gun wasn't a real one. It was a laser gun or something.
Like 4 kids in Yu-Gi-Oh! When they take out the guns and the saw blades and everything.
Yeah.
Shit, this was airing around the same time as Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually.
There's a cut out there where it's all doctored and everything.
Yeah, really. Pulls out a rice ball. Oh no, sorry, a jelly donut. You can't have rice balls. That's too Japanese. We need to protect the children from other cultures. Thanks, 4 kids. So yeah, we hop into the episode proper with the actual theme of Static Shock, which is very interesting because it would actually change from season to season. They would actually update it. This is the very standard, gotta beep superhero. For the next 2 seasons, they would get Little Bow Wow to do the superhero Static Shock, which I think is the theme most people remember.
That's the one I remembered. So when I heard this, I'm like, wait a minute, did I just completely disremember the theme song to Static?
Yeah, it was different. They would even update it in the opening too. He would fight different villains in the opening sometimes. They would move it around. I'm like, oh, that's super cool. They did that. It's one of the many things that, really helped differentiate Static from Superman and Batman that were also going on. What were some other things they would do? We're working with a version of this that, sorry, everyone, is only 4080p, because that's what TVs were sized for back then. This was in a day before TVs were bigger, and as Matt and I were talking, they didn't change that on the Blu-ray, nor did they change that on the HBO Max app.
Nope.
The next season would actually change aspect ratio. In fact, this is one of the shows where I really noticed, oh wow, they changed aspect ratios on me.
Yeah.
To where I actually am aware of it. The intro is cool because, it's a perfect encapsulation of Virgil and Static's life. It's just him fighting to try and get to school, but everything is stopping him. I think there's something so perfect about that where it's yep, that's his life.
Yep.
Just always coming in under the radar. We get the big title card there, which love Static, and the title card is basically the title card from the comic. I forgot it was just on this weird purple background.
Yeah, it's a very static
image
shot. Yeah.
How about that, right? This feels like something okay, we've worked on everything else on the show so hard. This is the last thing we got to do. Purple background, I guess.
They forgot last minute, shit, we didn't have a title card. Hey Bob, just whip one up in GIMP.
Just throw it in there. Also, too, hey, Static Shock, a theme song with lyrics where Batman, Superman, even Justice League, none of them had lyrics.
No, that's what set him apart.
Very much so. I like that he had lyrics. So, yes, we get into the real deal episode. It's just called Jimmy, one word. We're at the community center that Virgil's father runs, which was an epicenter for many episodes and adventures in the show, and we see that something terrible has happened, and Richie, Virgil's best friend, is hurt and is being taken by the ambulance.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting we have this
place
here, because this predates Feast and all those sorts of things in comics, which is, and it's very strange to see that Feast is now kind of a big thing.
Spider-Man's thing, yeah.
Yeah.
McDuffie did it first, man. Dude was an innovator. And speaking of McDuffie, he wrote the episode along with Alan Burnett. In fact, McDuffie wrote most episodes of this show. Obviously, he's the original Static creator. He did the teleplay. Burnett is also like a superhero animation legend. He did Batman and Justice League and Superman. Hey, you know that new Kyle Higgins comic, Radiant Black?
Yes.
That guy's last name is Burnett because it's a reference to Alan Burnett.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Very cool. Here's the thing I didn't know. I thought Alan Burnett had died, actually. Obviously, Dwayne McDuffie is sadly no longer with us. No, Burnett's alive. He's just 70.
Oh, okay.
What an amazing career. And again, he's a guy, too, where, like, I'm sure they could ask him to come back tomorrow, and I'm sure he'd be able to write one.
Oh, I'm sure of it, yeah. I'm sure he's probably got some stashed away somewhere.
Hey, we got 2 new Batman and Superman shows on their way there to HBO Max. Let's make it happen, guys.
Yeah, special episode.
Special episode. Get the old band back together. Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, you basically rehired everyone else. Get Burnett back. But yeah, so Virgil wants to go with him to the hospital there. They're being very cagey about what's going on, and his father tells him to stay behind, which, you know, is really demoralizing to him, both as a friend and a hero, that he couldn't do anything to stop this, and he can't do anything to help right now. But oh wait, we move around in time again, because this is basically a Pulp Fiction episode where we're shown everything out of order.
Yeah, from different angles and everything.
Yeah, well, a lot of Dutch angles, too. A lot of, like, slanted thing. Did you know that? I forgot this show loved that. They do it in the opening credits when Static is fixing his hair, and they do it in this one, too, when the cops are putting up a perimeter.
Yep.
I'm like, God, they really love Dutch angles here. But yeah, Virgil is talking to a sociologist. Apparently, everyone who was involved in this big thing at the school that we are at the community center that we still don't know about yet, was that they all have to talk to this sociologist, and basically Virgil walks her through the story of how we got to this position and how he met the titular Jimmy of the story. But before we do any of that, the show remembers, oh yeah, wait, we're a superhero show, so I guess we should try and get in one superhero fight before we go super dark and serious for the rest of it.
Yeah, this is one of the very few episodes where Static is in the costume, like, twice.
Yep.
Like, once here and then once right at the end of the episode.
Yep, it's a Static episode with very little Static in it.
Yeah.
Which is cool. That's strength of character that you can do that. They do that with Batman and Superman all the time, where it's like, look, whether he's in the costume or not, he's still the hero.
Still a hero, yeah.
Yeah, we see Static duke it out with an Armadillo Man, who we've actually seen a few other times in the show. Him and Ferret were, like, you know, the real loser jobber bang babies who would always get, like, fought as part of, like, bigger stories. Also, hey, too, I'm pretty sure the guy who does the voice of the Armadillo Man here is also the guy who does the voice of Jimmy.
Oh, really? What's his name? His name's Richard something.
Richard Horvitz.
He voiced Zim. He voiced Zim on Invader Zim.
Well, Matt, I'm glad you said that, because that's going to be our next segment of the show now. Yes, Richard Horowitz is the voice of Jimmy in this episode, the sad boy who will end up making some truly horrible decisions. And it's funny, too, that he plays such a serious character, because Horowitz, as you mentioned, is an actor known predominantly for comedy, and because of that, I have put together a list, the top 5 roles of Richard Horowitz. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
So this dude's had an amazing career in both live action and in animation. So coming in at number 5, we have Alpha 5.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Richard Horowitz was the original voice of Alfred. Here's the thing, though. You're probably thinking, well, I don't remember reading his name in the credits. Yeah, he did it under a pseudonym. In fact, he did many roles under a pseudonym, actually. So not only is he like a super prolific voice actor, but he's done probably even more things than you know about.
He's hiding his voice.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys because he waffled back and forth between doing voice acting and doing, like, live action stuff. I guess he didn't want one to affect the other.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
So that's one of the things he did. So yeah, he's frickin' Alpha 5. I bet you didn't think when you checked out this episode that there'd be a Power Rangers connection, but here you go. Number 4, Invader Zim. Yeah, he was Zim from Invader Zim. Probably his most famous role.
Yes, that's what I knew him from, yeah.
And I think that's the voice that's, like, closest to his own register. Like, even when he shows up in other stuff, it's like, oh, hey, it's Zim. Everywhere he goes. I need to go back and rewatch that show. I remember watching it when it aired, but I haven't gone back to it in years. I know it has, like, this super cult following. It had that Netflix special not too long ago.
Yep.
People love it. Number 3, he was Billy, and also Billy's dad from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Billy does sound a little bit like Zim.
You sound like Zim, but a
Talks
little
through the
dumber.
nose.
Yeah, he's a little dumber is the whole thing. I think that's the first time I had ever heard him in a role was doing that show. That is also a very funny and very underrated show, everyone, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I'm shocked they've never tried to resurrect that the same way they tried to resurrect other old stuff. Maybe there's time. You know, we have a bad habit in this show, Matt, of when we put something out to the universe, then it happens.
That it happens, yep.
Yeah. Number 2, Richard Horvitz was also Daggett from the show Angry Beavers, which is a show I think people haven't thought about in forever.
No, I do remember watching this quite a fair bit.
Again, it was your typical buddy comedy by way of Nickelodeon. Daggett was the energetic dumb one, and the other beaver was like the smarter, more stoic one. So, you know, classic comedy pairing. I know there's some great audio around there of Horowitz and the other guy screwing around in the VO booth during the recording of the last episode.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was them bemoaning the fact that it was a last episode. It's like, kids, when this is done, you'll never see us again. We'll disappear into the void. Because Nickelodeon was famous for doing that back in the day. They would never actually do final episodes. The idea being they would want to, you know, string kids along and have them watching reruns forever in hopes they'd see a new episode.
Yeah, the final episode would just be like a regular episode.
Yeah.
You'd never realize that it was the final one.
Yeah. Which, hilariously, the DCU did that a lot in the beginning. The end of Batman is just a regular one. The new Batman Adventures was just a regular episode. I think No Superman had more of a finale. Static, ironically enough, definitely had a finale. I think no one ever talks about the final Static episode, but they have an actual real final one where they, like, solve every problem and it's done.
Yeah, isn't it about, like, they gotta, like, cure people or something? Yeah.
Yes, they end up curing the bang babiness of everyone.
Yeah.
And even as a kid, I'm like, is it right to do that? Are you, like, should you? I mean, like, yeah, obviously, like, a lot of these people are abusing the powers, but still, like, that's a real playing God move there, Virgil, to take the powers away. And finally on our list of Richard Horvitz characters, number 1, Moxie from Hell of a Boss. I don't know if you've been watching Hell of a Boss, Matt, have you?
I haven't, no.
It's a newer thing. It's from VZ Pop, I believe is what her channel's called. She did that. She did Has Been Hotel. It's part of this bigger interconnected universe. It was a massive Kickstarter success. One of the shows has already been picked up by like A24 to become like a real production and not just like a really passionate internet thing. And Hell of a Boss is kind of like the side project that became like the main project because the other thing got bought. It's very good. He's very funny in it, and him being in the show, because he is like a professional actor with such like, you know, big, long credentials and everything.
Yeah.
I think that's what gave a lot of people reason to watch and be like, oh shit, this isn't some rinky-dink internet production. This is like the real deal.
Yeah, he gave it some legitimacy.
Very much so. It's very funny. He's funny in it. It's totally for adults, so he's allowed to say fuck and everything, so it's great.
That's good.
And he's just doing the Zim voice. Like, he's literally just doing Zim. But yeah, so back in Static Land, we are introduced to our titular character, Jimmy. He's working on his laptop, and because this is 2002, that's actually a pretty big deal, because this was in a day and age when not every classroom had a computer in it. And laptops were like the size of friggin' suitcases, and they had battery lives of like, what, 30 minutes?
Yep.
He also has a non-wireless mouse. He has just a regular mouse.
Yeah, don't know how he had that.
Yeah, don't know how he does it, which I guess at this point this is like a character moment where it's like, yeah, in 2002, if you were good with computers, you had to have been an outsider and been something of a weirdo because it took a lot of time. They weren't super easy like they are now. You know, he's such a weirdo with his computer, which is hilarious now because everything is on computers.
His computers with stickers of skulls and other weird shit.
Weird shit, you know. You gotta watch out for this one. You know, he's troubled. He's troubled, this Jimmy, as we're gonna find out. And not long after meeting Jimmy, we meet his tormentor, his chief bully, and I guess our antagonist for the episode. I forget his name. I'm just gonna call him Muscle Shirt.
Yeah, it's like a kid wearing like a wife beater to school.
Yeah, just every day, just like, yeah, gotta show off my guns. Yeah, see how I got that muscle? Yeah, it's from bullying is what that is. That's good bully muscle.
And he's always got this like shit-eating grin on his
Always.
face.
Oh yeah, you can tell the animators had a blast making this guy. He looks like a freaking Archie villain. Like, doesn't he look like the other guy? Like, not Jughead, not Archie. Moose. He looks like Moose from Archie.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he's got two other little henchmen, and they make it their goal in class just to royally screw with poor Jimmy. They keep closing his laptop lid, they unplug his cords there, and he can't handle it, man. He's freaking the hell out, and, Virgil doesn't like it, and he tries to step up for him, but there's not much he can do, because he's not static. He's just regular old Virgil, and that's kind of Virgil's whole character journey this episode.
Yeah, doing things as Virgil, not as Static.
Yeah, and being kind of at a loss as Virgil, where it's like, as Static, I can literally move mountains, I can make metal dance for me, but as just a regular guy, I can only do so much, and, this feeling of maybe I should do more. Virgil, too, being a smart kid, says, like, wow, the teacher busted me for coming in late because I was fighting crime, yet somehow she is completely blind to all of this. And this is where we start getting into the social commentary of the episode. And I feel when people remember this episode, they only remember it for the bullying subplot and not for, like, all the other factors that inform it.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dwayne McDuffie's a smart guy. This was 2 years after Columbine, and this is an episode that is very much referencing the real-world events that happened there. And I remember when it happened, because this was like a huge story in my lifetime. Everyone was saying, where were the teachers? Where were the parents? And because Dwayne McDuffie probably heard a lot of that stuff, too, he put it in the episode.
Yep.
So yeah, teacher not paying attention and lets this happen. And after class, it gets even worse. They steal his laptop from him, they completely mess him up, and they end up breaking his, very early 90s, early 2000s mouse.
Yeah, that probably cost him like $200.
Yeah, back in those days, those would not be cheap. It's not like now, where like, ooh, look, I got my cheap little mouse here that I got at the dollar store because it lights up. Yeah, no, that was actually serious tech, and there weren't computer stores around every corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another thing, too, that surprised me about this episode, Jimmy doesn't actually speak all that much, so they got, a very prolific actor, but he doesn't talk much.
Yeah, it's all in, I guess, the animation, how they animate him and everything.
Because, he's a shy kid, he's a withdrawn kid, and everything, and that's all playing into the bigger characters of it all. Obviously, Virgil and Richie want to help him out, so they get him a replacement mouse and come to his house the next day, and they meet his mom, actually, and, whenever it comes to one of these kids who end up, shooting up their school or attacking classmates and everything, like I say, they always say, where are the parents? And yet, a lot of the times you're surprised to find out, oh, they were just from, regular middle-class homes with, regular-ass parents and everything.
Yeah.
That's weird, that's crazy. That's not, the images that people conjure in their mind. Though they do a small thing here that is small, but I think, really smart. She says something that is so momish, but something that's ultimately so cutting. So yeah, what the mom basically says is oh, don't run these ones away too, implying that Jimmy has had a history of running people away and being weird, and the mom is trying to be supportive in the ways moms do, but is ultimately kind of dropping the ball on it.
Yeah, she doesn't really know what to do.
No, she's like, oh, that boy of mine, oh, I just don't understand him.
Yeah,
I'll just kind of leave them to my own to their own devices and everything, which by all account is exactly what the Columbine kids' parents did with them, and they ended up building friggin' propane bombs in their house and everything.
Mm-hmm.
We see Jimmy's room, and it is your stereotypical nerdy room, right down to totally not Star Wars that he is totally not a fan of.
Yeah, it says Star Wars, not Star Trek sort of stuff. Yeah.
He has a prop replica of totally not Han Solo's blaster. And he even mentions that he has the movie on DVD too, which, as I mentioned before, in 2002, that was pretty rare, which means Jimmy here is actually an early adopter of DVD.
Makes sense. He's got the laptop. He's got, which back then as well would have been a
DVD player.
But yeah, DVD player, but also something that not a lot of people would have had.
Absolutely, yeah. He's a technophile. He's an early adopter, and this, quaint little moment here of them getting to know Jimmy and learning a little bit more about him, trying to bring some light into his life, quickly takes a very dark turn when Jimmy does basically exactly what his mother knew he was going to do and said, "Hey, Virgil, if you like that prop, you want to see a real gun?"
Yeah, he gets a little weird about it. He gets a little, "Do you want to see a dead body under the bridge?"
That is exactly, the emotion that he's bringing to this. And Virgil, understandably, freaks the hell out, not just because he's a superhero, but also because his mother was killed due to gun violence in the riots that the show never really went into in the first couple seasons. I do believe they did a time travel episode later. But even then, I don't think they actually explain what the root cause of the riots are.
Yeah.
Which I think was a smart thing for the show to do, to try and make it timeless, where it's like, oh, was this a reference to the LA riots? Is this like, anything else? Which I'm sure McDuffie's like, don't worry, I'm sure more riots will be a thing in Americans' future. You can superimpose whatever reason you want on it. But yeah, Virgil freaks the hell out and leaves them be. And, he bemoans that to the psychologist later, where it's like, I could have stopped it. I should have said something, but I didn't. And this is where they really get into the PSA-ish part of the episode, where they, actually give you the statistics of, how many young people are hurt every year by, handguns in the home.
Yeah, it's out of all the episodes we've done on these type of topics, this is the one that was the most serious about it.
Yes, this was the most direct PSA episode of all. In fact, this one literally ends with Static talking directly to the audience. This is the first time they would do it, but they would do it several other times. They would do an episode about racism, I think in season 1, which was actually about Richie's dad. And they do another one later about dyslexia with Rubber Band Man, where they'd actually stop and talk to the audience.
Yep.
Oh, and they did a really good homeless one, too. I don't know if they stopped and talked to the audience on that one.
Okay.
We'll have to do the homeless one later. That's a good one. Michael Dorn is in that one.
We'll do it for our homeless saga, yeah.
Man, we could do a homeless saga. We'll do Little Girl Lost from Superman. We'll do the one where he, goes to the work camp in Batman. We'll do that one. Oh my god, we could do a homeless saga. I hate that you're right, Matt, and we could do that. That there's many homeless-centric episodes. So Jimmy actually starts hanging out with Virgil and Richie, and he kind of becomes a sort of friend to them, but he still obviously is working through a lot of problems. He's distant and withdrawn, and as we find out later, he maybe has some issues that they haven't quite invented proper words for talking about yet, because again, 2002.
Yeah, and again, it goes into the whole thing where people would just think, it's just kids being kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. Muscle Shirt and his goons come to mess with him, and I just realized this screen I captured was an in-between frame where he has no eyes.
Oh, Jesus.
That's what he's mad at, Jimmy. He's mad that he has eyes and he doesn't have any.
Jimmy stole his eyes.
Give me back my eyes, Jimmy. But yeah, so Muscle Shirt screws with him, makes fun of him for his inability to dunk. Which was a big thing in the late 90s, early 2000s, your ability to dunk.
Yes, your whole social status was hinging on if you could dunk or not.
Absolutely. Jordan was hot, it's a whole thing. So Frida comes in, who is basically, I guess, the female lead of Static. Frida is weird in this show, because in the comics, she was Virgil's love interest, and here in the show, she's just kind of a character that's there.
Yeah, just there. I think it's they probably didn't really know what to do with it, but they know they needed a female
voice,
supporting character.
Yeah, and she was a fine character and everything. As we see here, she got the okay from Virgil's dad to turn the community center into their haunted house for Halloween.
Yeah.
And can we talk about their haunted house for a second there? How freaking amazing is the haunted house they create?
They have a bit of a production budget, yeah.
Oh my god, they turn it into an amazing maze and everything. It's out of this goddamn world.
Yeah, it's got an area that's got all these gravestones and everything. I like to think that they're real gravestones as well.
Yeah, we just took them. We'll have to have a very special episode next week about not defacing graves.
The Gravestone Saga.
The Gravestone Saga, yes. But yeah, so Jimmy really throws himself into this because, you know, he loves special effects and horror and sci-fi and everything. And he especially loves all the positive reinforcement he is getting from Frida. And this is one part of the episode that I feel has aged. I don't want to use the word aged poorly, but it's a thing that I'm sure if the episode was made today, they would probably focus on a little bit more. And that is like, oh, Jimmy is developing a really unhealthy fixation with Frida here. And as we know from real school shooters, the Virginia Tech guy, the Polytech guy from Montreal, which was like actually in the 80s. Yeah, they didn't just start with shooting up their classmates. They started with stalking women.
Yeah, they showed what is now referred to as incel behavior.
Very much so. Jimmy is basically an incel before his time, and those other two I mentioned there were also kind of incel guys. See, also Elliot Rogers, who also had, you know, some weird hung-up ideas about women and everything. I guess if there's one problem with this episode, and it's probably, again, the reason that a lot of people memory hold it, where it's like, oh, it's all about bullying. You know, Jimmy was a good kid who just snapped when they put too much pressure on him, and it's like, yes, but also what we know about school shooters now, especially about the Columbine shooters, which again was only 2 years ago when this episode was made, you could make an argument, and many people did, that they were just as much bullies.
Yeah.
And especially because they recorded just about everything they did, and we can read their journals and everything. One of those kids was very much a sociopath. The other one was, you know, just depressive and just wanted to die. The Columbine shooters are weird, too, because it's two of them, but every other big school shooting, it's usually one.
Yeah. Again, that's become a thing as well, because everyone thinks when these things happen, it's like, oh, there has to have been more than one. Where is the other one? Or where are the other ones? I could only imagine if Columbine had happened today, all the conspiracy shit that would follow it. See, also Sandy Hook, which that guy didn't go to Sandy Hook, but it was a shooting at a school. Yep.
So that's a whole thing there. But yeah, I feel that's a thing they would do different. Another thing, too, about Columbine that I'm surprised this show didn't touch on, well, probably because it wasn't out there yet. It's only stuff we discovered later from reading Harris and Klebold's journals there. Boy, there was a lot of Hitler in one of their journals, and also one of the knives they brought to school to Columbine had a swastika on it. And, you know, like a lot of these other shootings now, it's like, there's a racial component to this, too, that America is afraid to talk about, it feels. But, you know, that's a depressing topic. Let's keep going. So yeah, you know, Jimmy helps out with the haunted house. His, you know, self-worth actually skyrockets a little bit, but because you basically know where this episode is going, it's only a matter of time before it all comes crashing down. Mostly because of Muscle Shirt, but also because he hears Frida basically rebuke him when he's overhearing one of their conversations.
Yeah.
Which, again, as a thing that does kind of hold up, where it's like, yeah, again, incelish behavior, let us not forget, as we now have words for it.
Yep.
Muscle Shirt and his goons end up chasing him through the maze, and man, there's a thing Static does. I don't know if you noticed this, but whenever there was an action scene, you know, they wouldn't have like an orchestra. They would have, you know, like a rap song or like some...
It's like a beats.
Yeah. They'd have like a beat to try and match the mood and everything. And the beat would usually have lyrics. We saw it in the fight at the beginning of the episode with the Armadillo Man, where it's like, rollin', he's rolling at you, Static, watch out, he's rolling. And then here in this one too, where they're chasing him through the maze, they're like, running, they're chasing him, they running. I'll have to splice that in so people don't think I'm crazy. But they did it all the time. The music in the show is great, don't get me wrong, and it really added to the flavor of the whole thing. It's just something I noticed looking back 20 years later.
Yeah, again, it gave the show its own voice and style compared to like Batman the Animated Series and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. My favorite piece of music, in case you're wondering, is actually the music that accompanied Kangor, who was the evil metahuman that Static fought, who was Jamaican.
Oh, to hear man.
And every time he was on screen, the score would always go dun-da-dang, dun-da-dun-da-dang, just like steel drum the shit out of it. Like every time this character came somewhere, it was just like huge steel drums and Jamaican patois yelling. Again, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if they would make that choice today. It'd be like, you know, if I showed up in a room and it was just like, you know, snow, maple syrup, or if you showed up in a room, boomerangs, Barbies, Fosters, that you don't actually drink, that I know now.
Yep.
So the bullies' big grim finale here is they end up throwing Jimmy in a locker, which is something that happens in like every piece of high school media. Did you ever know anyone who got thrown into a locker at your school?
No, well, we don't even, lockers aren't a thing here.
Really?
We have like our school bags, and we put them in like, they're like these open faced racks.
Oh.
You just put them in and then you go into your classroom.
Interesting. So yeah, I had lockers through my whole high school, but they were very, very tiny. They were like, you know, smaller, like even than my work desk, smaller than most doors, where I'm like, you couldn't get anything in there. You could barely get your books in there. And I wonder, did they make lockers smaller as like an answer to this? Or am I, again, Bernstein Bears, remembering this wrong because I've always been like 6'1", 260 pounds, and no one was ever throwing my ass in a locker, no matter how nerdy I was. It just wasn't happening.
Yeah, no, I've always seen that as like an American thing, the lockers and everything.
Yeah, getting thrown in a locker. Again, I've never seen it happen. I don't doubt it does happen, because it had to have come from somewhere, this idea. It just wasn't conjured from whole cloth.
That'd be something interesting to look into, like, where did this start?
Yeah, they also wedgied him earlier in the episode, which is another one of those things that is classic TV bullying, and something I'm sure has happened, but something that I don't think I have ever seen in my life. Someone actively get a wedgie.
Same, yeah.
Like it feels like Archie Andrews. It feels like 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to say that kids in my high school wouldn't screw with you. They would do that thing where you put like your thumb and finger together and you do that thing on someone's skin really hard and it leaves like a little bite mark.
Yeah.
That was a popular one. Another one, you would need another person to do this, where they would like get down on all fours behind you and then you'd get pushed.
Mm-hmm.
And because you were pushed over something, you wouldn't be able to right yourself. So, you know, kids are assholes in every era is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Jimmy is not a fan of this. In fact, he truly ends up freaking out because of this. Again, a lot of, you know, untalked about issues, I'm sure. Maybe he, what's that thing? Fear of dark places? Claustrophobic.
Yeah, he's claustrophobic, fear of dark, and like
cramped spaces.
Cramped spaces. Yeah.
I was gonna say agoraphobic, but that's actually the opposite. That's fear of wide open spaces.
Yeah, if he doesn't want to go outside.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, this basically wrecks the poor kid, you know, and he's, you know, absolutely, you know, out of it. He doesn't even come to school for 2 days. He misses the big Fright Night festival, which Frida gets her big moment to do when she tells Muscle Shirt basically to screw off, you know, don't apologize to me because you clearly want a date with me, which has basically been his villainous motivation all episode long. Go apologize to him. Which you know he's not going to do.
No, not at all.
But you have to wonder, if he did, could he stop the thing that's going to happen next?
Yeah.
So yeah, Virgil and his dad are driving along, and they're like, hey, you know, maybe we should go pick Jimmy up there so he can help with the cleanup of the event and everything. You know, we can basically just check in on him, do a wellness check.
Yeah.
I really love Virgil's relationship with his dad in this show.
It's really nice. It's nice, isn't it?
Again, you know, Dwayne McDuffie really hit it out of the park when it's like, yeah, his dad is a social worker. His dad's job is to help people in their day-to-day life. And, you know, he passes that on to his son, this need to help and everything. And we see him do it multiple times in multiple episodes. Virgil's dad will, like, throw himself in harm's way.
Yeah, it's interesting as well how he wants, like, he doesn't work for the school or anything,
No.
and like he wants to help this child more than the actual school does.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because he just cares that much and he has just that big a heart. You can see why in the new Static comics that are coming out just recently, they have literally made Static's dad just look like Dwayne McDuffie.
Yeah, he's pretty much Dwayne McDuffie, yeah.
He is Static's father, both literally and figuratively, and there's something kind of sweet and wonderful about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, they go to Jimmy's house. We meet Jimmy's dad, who again, like the mom, seems like a perfectly nice, normal milquetoast guy, but just super uninterested in what's going on with his kid.
Yeah, again, like when Jimmy was starting to talk about like, oh, I got my dad's gun and everything, I kept thinking to myself, like, what does his dad do? Like, we hadn't seen him up until this point.
No, yeah, not at all. The dad says he got the gun for protection, which is interesting too, because they are clearly a white milquetoast family in the area of Dakota that we have seen as a lot more ethnic. So maybe there is a racial angle to this that we're not really seeing.
Yeah, maybe.
And again, they don't seem racist because, they're totally cool with Virgil and his dad coming in their house and everything. But, that's the thing about racism. It can be, subtle and understated sometimes, Mm-hmm. That's the weird thing about it. So, yeah, Virgil goes up to Jimmy's room, and he sees he left his computer behind, which is weird for him because this is a guy who clearly takes his computer everywhere, and he ends up reading his manifesto. Because every
his 4chan post,
as it would be now, wouldn't it? Or his YouTube upload, as it would be now. Which again, the Columbine kids did make that one famous too. They filmed videos and cassettes and everything, which has led more people in recent years to believe, I think, at least one of these kids, the real sociopath one, wanted to be remembered, right? He wanted to be famous and wanted to inspire other shooters.
Yeah, there was that guy that didn't he shoot up a Walmart or something?
Probably there was a couple copycat crimes right after.
Yeah, one it was I think 2019 or something.
Right.
And he wanted to be known and everything, but no one remembers him.
Yeah, was that the guy who live streamed it? Because there was a guy who was live streaming his shoot. This is the darkest, most messed up part that there's so many mass shootings now in the States we cannot keep track of them all.
That might have been. I know that the guy from New Zealand did that.
Right. Oh,
I know that was his thing. He wanted to live stream it and let everyone see it. Yeah.
Wasn't there a guy he live streamed and he mentioned PewDiePie, didn't he? Was the thing subscribe to PewDiePie?
I think so.
Yes.
I honestly can't remember the details.
I'm probably blending several together, but that was another mass shooter thing. But yeah, this is this dark, messed up manifesto idea taken 20 years later to its ultimate extreme, and that is crazy, evil assholes are going to be live streaming their killing sprees. Mm-hmm. Also, his manifesto is called The Battle Journal, and because this is a comic show, is that a Punisher reference?
Oh, he's got a skull on his laptop.
Oh my god. And Marvel Knights was big at this time, as we talked about.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh,
he was reading Marvel Knights.
Oh no. It all connects, doesn't it?
Oh no.
But yes, so this puts Virgil in a really interesting position too, because he knows something bad is happening, and he could stop it as a superhero, but he didn't, and so the guilt he feels is super raw and super uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And, it's a very interesting place to put the hero in. Again, the dad is great, Virgil's dad, because, he just totally takes control of this situation. We need to get to the community center. Again, we keep calling it a school shooting episode, but he doesn't actually shoot up the school. He tries to shoot up the community center.
Yeah, it's a community center shooting.
Yes, as I stop and think about it, as I look back, and again, how we all remembered this episode wrong in one way or another. But yeah, so he totally takes charge of the situation. They find the missing gun, and he says, Virgil, you got to stay here. We're going to go and meet the kid off at the pass. And, he's already there, and he's all ready to go about it. And yeah, this is the moment that made me spit take as a kid. Oh my god, he pulled out a real gun.
Yeah, and what's kind of cool about it is that they make the gun actually look real. It's not like some toy or anything to really sell home the fact that this is a real thing. This is a real threat. This could really happen to you, and you got to be careful. Also, hey, another thing that it just hits me that I forgot about, Static actually had another real gun before. In episode 1, during the Big Bang, gang rumble, a guy hands Virgil a gun, and he throws it away. So they had gotten away with it at least twice, getting to use, a real firearm to hit home, the gravity of said situation. In both situations, I guess you needed a real gun in that situation. Which I guess, too, if you were having to go to a network, I'm sure that was a hill they were willing to fight and die on, because, it's the whole point of it. Could they have given him meta powers? Could they have made it an allegory? They could have, but I don't think this episode would have had the same punch if it didn't. No, not at all. Yeah, so he's freaking out, he's ready to kill Muscle Shirt, and Richie ends up stepping on in and putting himself between it again, showing us the heroism that lives inside Richie, which I like a whole lot. Next season, he would become Gear and everything. Yeah. So I like that this, season finale is already kind of setting up the fact that, he is willing to put himself in the way of wrong to try and do right. Not only that, as well as it also like showcases that like obviously Static has had a bit of an effect on him.
Yes.
And just being around Static and everything.
Yeah, the good positiveness of heroism is, infectious in its own way. And sadly, Richie ends up paying the price because they tackle the kid with the gun, it goes off, and Richie's actually the one who gets shot.
He gets shot, but we don't see any blood or anything,
No.
so it just looks like he got a leg cramp.
It looks like he just fell down is the thing, because, they probably had to fight tooth and nail for the gun. They weren't going to fight tooth and nail for blood.
No.
That being said, the place in the leg he gets shot, you got a lot of veins and everything there in that part of the leg.
Main arteries and everything. Yeah.
Main arteries, so, like, you could have bled out instantly if you got shot there.
Yeah.
And, Richie, he really sells it, the pain and everything. He says a line, too, that always does my head in, and that is like, oh, it's not like on TV. He says, well, on TV.
Yeah. Oh, and again, they probably had to say that just to hit home the fact that
hey, kid.
Getting shot is not like it is in the cartoons.
Yes. So Static shows up. He's able to, bat the gun away and everything. And, comes to Richie's aid a little too late, which, really explains all the guilt that Virgil has been dealing with and why he's talking to this psychologist. He's a hero, he can do so much, but this kind of happened under his nose, and, he blames himself thoroughly for it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And, I mean, that's kind of how it goes. They take Richie away, Virgil finishes telling the story to the psychologist, we hear a little bit more facts there about gun violence, and, Lamar probably ends up giving one of his best monologues where he's like, I'm mad at Jimmy for shooting Richie, I'm mad at Muscle Shirt, I'm mad at, the guy, I'm mad at everything.
Yep.
What do I do? And, this is one of those great bits, too, where it's like he's a superhero and he's talking about superhero problems, but he can't mention it to this lady.
Yeah.
Is that
he can't tell her that he's Static, so he's talking about, I heard it all secondhand.
Secondhand, yeah, so he has to, talk around it. And everything. Frida is there too, and we learn from her kind of the fate of everyone. Jimmy's gonna be going away to try and get some help. He's not going to prison, and Muscle Shirt only got suspended for a bit, and it's this real, kind of downer ending with Static being just like, wow, there really is no justice in the world, huh?
Yeah.
Which, again, is very Milestone and very Dwayne McDuffie. It's like, yeah, sometimes the bad guys win, kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes nothing can be done with it. Richie returns to school. He gets Virgil to sign his cast, and they once again hit home the severity. Hey, if I had been shot just a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And that was me, a good Samaritan, trying to get involved too. Hey, danger of guns. It's not just a danger for you and the person you hope to use it on. It's a danger for everyone around you.
Yeah.
And the episode ends with them, too, helping another kid who is seemingly getting bullied because, Virgil has learned a lesson and he doesn't want to happen again. It's a very after-school special ending, and it's an ending, too, that I wonder with everything we know now about, the gun problem in the States and, bullying and school shootings. I feel like they might have changed this ending up a bit because this ending to me, well, I do enjoy it in the episode. It feels very much like a talking point we hear all the time whenever there's a mass shooting, and that is the whole, don't walk out, kids, step up and solve the problem, which is always coming from right-wing gun-huddling politicians who are like, no, don't blame the guns. You children need to do more to not get shot. You need to befriend these crazy children, even if they stalk women and revere Hitler and everything. It's all on you, children.
Yeah.
Again, I think they would have done this one a little bit differently, even if it does work in this moment. And yeah, we end with a straight-up PSA with Static talking directly to the audience, giving more stats about gun violence, and I was going to contrast and compare the school shooting statistics from this to now, but I didn't want to because I know they're worse. I don't have to.
You didn't want to be depressed.
Yeah, I know they're worse. Not only was this a problem in 2002, it kept being a problem and didn't stop.
Yeah, it's still happening, yeah.
Now, 2002, same year, Michael Moore had his Bowling for Columbine documentary, which was the first feature-length documentary to really talk about Columbine and gun violence in the States. And, as a result of that, Walmart stopped selling ammunition, so that was one little thing that stopped. Mm-hmm. But, as we obviously know, if you've read the news or anything in the last 20-plus years, oh yeah, there's still actually a lot more problems and a lot more stuff going on there.
Yeah.
So that's a whole thing there. But there's the episode, everyone. We know it wasn't probably the happiest and it wasn't the funniest, but again, it is a very important episode, and I think probably a high point of superhero television when it comes to tackling real issues, and it's an episode we all remember.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, and as you said, it's definitely something that hasn't really been done in superhero animation since then. Like they've kind of strayed away from that in recent years. They don't do like the gun violence episode or the stranger danger episode anymore.
No. I mean, like the things that even come close to me, I think, like, Steven Universe did some really good episodes on like domestic abuse, but because it's like a sci-fi fantasy, there's like several layers of insularness to it, where it's like, yes, it's an episode about spousal abuse, but like with all this alien stuff on top of it, but it's like, but that's what it's about. Yeah. But so yeah, that's the episode, everyone. We hope you enjoyed it. That's also the end of the very special episode arc on Retro Hero. I think we're going to do a palate cleanser at the end of next month because we need it.
Yes, definitely.
After this one, I promise we'll do something fun. I think Matt and I were talking about doing the first episode of that Stan Lee superhero reality show.
Yes, some cringe.
Oh, yeah, because it is just cringy and ridiculous, and another weird time capsule where it's like, oh, yeah, everyone was getting a reality show back then.
Yeah, even nerds.
Even nerds like us. I also hope to, I was looking on YouTube, like, has anyone else talked about this episode, like, specifically? Yeah, apparently Saber Spark did an episode on this, like, 2 months ago. So I hope ours is different enough from his. I know it's longer, that's for sure. Yeah, I think it will be too. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching and listening. And hey, fingers crossed that YouTube doesn't demonetize us on this one, because I think they demonetized Saber Spark actually.
Oh no.
I think they did, but I think he also ended up like saying like, look, any money I'm going to make from this, I'm going to give to charity. And you know what? Maybe we should probably do that too. I will put a link down in the description there. Hey, if you want to give to a good org to try and combat school violence and gun violence and everything, I don't know what it is. I'll try and find a good one, like one that is maybe Canadian or Australian or something like that. I'll try and figure that out. That way I can watch it and make sure your money's going someplace good. Don't worry, I'm watching it. I'm seeing where it's going. So until then, everyone, this has been Retro Hero Video. Thank you so much, and we will be back again next time. Bye-bye.
See ya.